Are avoidants just assholes? I mean, not in theory, not in some psychology textbook way, I mean in real life. Because if you've been through this, you're not asking that question casually. You're asking it because of what they actually did. They didn't just pull away. They left you hanging. They ignored messages. They went cold right after being warm. They said things that felt real and then acted like it meant nothing. And you felt it. You felt the shift. You felt the confusion. You felt that moment where you were like, wait, what the hell just happened? And then you're sitting there thinking, did they ever love me? Was any of that real? Why would someone do this to me? And yeah, at some point you land on, this is just a shitty person. Honestly, I get that. Because from your side, it doesn't feel like avoidant behavior. It feels like someone messed with your head. They gave you something real enough to feel, then took it away without explanation. Then sometimes came back like nothing happened. That's not neutral. That hurts. And let me say this clearly. They knew you were hurting. Maybe they didn't fully understand it. Maybe they didn't sit there thinking about it deeply, but they knew. They knew you were invested. They knew you were trying. They knew you were confused. And they didn't step in and say, hey, I see what's happening. Let me explain. They didn't. So yeah, from your experience, it feels heartless. Now, here's where I'm going to say something that might hit you a little differently. That doesn't automatically mean they're just an asshole, but it also doesn't mean they're innocent. That's the part nobody says properly, because people go to extremes. They either say avoidants are just misunderstood or avoidants are terrible people. The truth is more uncomfortable than that. They can care and still treat you badly. They can feel something and still leave you in pain. They can mean what they said in the moment and still not follow through on it. And that's what messes with your head, because now you're trying to line up, if they cared, why did they act like that? And your brain keeps going in circles. Look, think about this for a second. If someone was just a clear, obvious jerk from the beginning, you wouldn't be stuck. You wouldn't be thinking about them months later. You wouldn't be asking, why can't I move on? Why am I still thinking about them? You'd just be done. But that's not what happened. What happened was they gave you just enough realness, just enough connection, just enough depth, just enough moments where you felt like this is something, and then they pulled away. That combination, that's what hurts people. Not just the hurt, the inconsistency. Now here's the part I want you to really see. You're trying to decide, were they an asshole or were they avoidant? But the more useful question is, what did their behavior actually do to me? Because regardless of their label, you experience the same thing. You felt confused, rejected, pulled in and pushed away, unsure of where you stood, and that creates something very specific in your mind. It creates a loop where you keep going back to, was it real? Did they mean it? Do they think about me? Because you never got a clean ending. And let me be blunt with you for a second. They didn't just not communicate well. They left you to try to figure it out on your own. And that's where a lot of the damage comes from, because now you're sitting there trying to make sense of something that they never helped you make sense of. Now, pause for a second. If this is hitting you, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, this is exactly what happened to me, take a second, like the video, follow, subscribe, and honestly, send this to someone who went through this, because there are a lot of people who are stuck in this exact confusion. Now, here's where I want to ground this. Understanding them doesn't mean excusing what they did. You don't need to soften it. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. You don't need to say, oh, they were just overwhelmed. No, you can understand it and still say, that didn't work for me. Because at the end of the day, this is not about diagnosing them. It's about recognizing they couldn't meet you in a consistent, real way. And that's what matters. Not whether they were a bad person, not whether they meant it at the time, whether they could actually show up, and they didn't. And that's why you're here now, still thinking about it, still trying to understand it, still feeling that pull. If you're stuck in that loop, if you keep going back and forth between they cared, they didn't care, they're avoidant, they're just an asshole, you don't have to stay there. You can book a one-on-one session through the link in the bio, or reach out to me on Pop Call, chat, voice, video, whatever works for you. And just sit with this for a second. Maybe the reason you're still stuck isn't because they were one thing or the other. It's because they gave you, what they gave you was just enough to feel real, but never enough to feel secure.